I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being live streamed by Chelmsford Telemedia and posted to the Chelmsford Public Schools website for interested community members to access and watch. In-person public participation will be taking place tonight in accordance with Chelmsford School Committee Public Participation Guidelines. Anyone speaking tonight during the public input portion of the meeting has notified the superintendent's office of their desire to speak and has been provided with these guidelines. Upon request, written comments received no later than 12 p.m. on the day of this meeting will also be read and made a part of the record of the meeting during the second public comment section. Is there any members of the press here tonight? No? No. Great. Welcome to the meeting of the Chelmsford School Committee. I apologize for the late start. Executive session ran over. But with that, our first order of business is to approve the minutes from our meeting on November 15th and November 21st. So why don't I take these separately?
I move that the school committee approve the minutes of the regular school committee meeting held on November 15th, 2022.
Second.
All right. Does anybody have any corrections? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
I move that the committee approve the minutes of the regular school committee meeting held on November 21st, 2022.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. All right. Welcome to our Chelmsford High School student representatives. We'd love to hear your updates.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So on November 17th, 18th, and 19th, Chelmsford High School presented the hit musical Legally Blonde, and it was a huge success. Congratulations to the CHS cast, crew, and the student pit orchestra that provided the music. The Snowball Dance was supposed to be on Friday, December 2nd, but it was rescheduled to a later date. And a few colleges that recently visited CHS include the Savannah College of Art and Design, Bridgewater State, and Regis College.
Hello, everyone. The high school had their pep rally, which was back in the gym right before Thanksgiving, and it was definitely a fun way to start off Thanksgiving break. And the school was also able to donate nearly 4,000 items to the Merrimack Valley Food Bank for Thanksgiving, and the drive was ran by the 2023 officers and Blake Downs, who was on behalf of the Boy Scouts of America Troop 81. This past weekend, the class of 2023 had their bake sale at the Chelmsford Commons tree lighting, and all winter sports have officially started, and tomorrow there will be an early release for all students. That's all I have.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, any good news?
I have one piece of good news. The Unified Basketball team had a ceremony to celebrate those students participating in the program. So they had a great time, and we'll be showcasing a nice picture of them this week in the newsletter.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to add that several of us had a chance to see Legally Blonde, and it was an outstanding performance by everyone involved. The band was terrific. It really was so.
It was excellent. They did a
Yeah.
phenomenal job, everyone involved.
And we have a lot of concerts coming up over the next couple of weeks.
We've already had a couple of them, but there's going to be more. This whole month is all concert month, so stay tuned if you can't make it. They will be recorded and produced on Chelmsford Telemedia, so they do a great job with that as well.
Right, thank you. Do we have anybody, I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to mention, I didn't know if you're going to, that tomorrow night is the 8th grade parent night at the high school. Any 8th grade parents whose children will be attending Chelmsford High next year are interested in Chelmsford High, it's going to be 6 to 8 tomorrow evening, and go to the PAC to begin.
They have to be interested in Chelmsford High, that's where they go.
Right. Did I say something wrong?
You said if you're interested.
I just had a birthday.
You're going
I'm a
there.
year older, so you just
I haven't seen you for a
give me
little
a
while.
break here, you know, it's.
You asked him for good news.
It is good news. No, it's a lot of information. I haven't seen him for a while. I have to give him a hard time.
All right, do we have anybody registered for public input? All right, so moving on to new business.
Yes, first item on the agenda this evening, continuing with our kind of profiles or our spotlights on the different activities that are taking place in the district. We have Principal Jeff Parks from the Parker Middle School, who's here with a couple of students, and they're going to share a little bit about how the school year is up and running at Chuck Parker, and we're looking forward to hearing from you tonight.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having us. It's good to see everyone, especially Kaya and Lana, a couple of our superstar Parker grads. So not surprised to see them here. It's good to see you both. I'll start off the presentation and I'm going to handle the first two agenda items. And then,
Get a little feedback.
yeah, a little bit. There you go. And then eighth grader Maya Barry is going to talk to us about student leadership. And seventh grader Dom LaRosa is going to do some transition talk. We'll talk about the big change coming to the middle schools next year, okay? So far this year, can you hear that?
Yeah, they'll pick up on it and they'll fix it.
Okay. Anytime somebody asks me how the school year is going, without a doubt, my response is better than the last few years. So having everybody come back and being able to move away from, everything in rows, everybody all spread out, masks, it was just very tense. And it was almost like, we were required to kind of make school happen. But what we're able to do now is have a lot of the events outside of the classroom that make school so much fun for the kids and for the adults that work there. So just to highlight a couple of things, we had a 5th and 6th grade social a few weeks ago for the first time that these kids were ever able to do it, and they had a blast. We have a 7th and 8th grade dance on Friday night, which is really cool. So these two will get their first experience at that, and it's something that we talk about and we think about with middle school, but it's actually going to happen for them, and they haven't had that opportunity yet. In addition, we've been able to get our clubs and activities are up and running, so the school is really busy throughout the course of the day with kids and adults interacting outside of the classroom. Field trips are back in action. We have some of our grade levels have gone out to places. We're working to bring people in and just really, again, doing the things that we were unable to do for so long. And our family events are back. We have a couple of great things that we've been doing, but the social events for staff are just as important, or almost as important, I should say. So we had a cornhole tournament. We've gone out to Riverhawk hockey games, thanks to our PTO. We had a great pizza and pumpkins event, which is really kind of a highlight. And I know Maria, Don, I saw a few of you there. So for those of you that weren't there, John, you were there. I think you had to be because your daughter, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
anyways, you would have come anyways. I know you would have. But so anyways, just being able to do these things. And if you haven't made one of those events, I really encourage you to get out and do them. And I know it's every school all the time. We all seem to be doing things at the same time. But whenever you go around, it's well worth the time spent to be able to go in and support the students and staff when they're doing those type of things. So here's just a look at what happens at the Pizza and Pumpkins event. It's really one of my favorite events all year long. Our massive courtyard, it looks great. It's all lit up. We have over 100 pumpkins that students and staff and families decorate and carve and put out there, and it's dark and it's like just such a great kickoff, and we do it the week leading up to Halloween. So it's actually really pretty cool. And then one other thing I wanted to highlight as far as some of the things that we're working on, each year we run the Super Bowl, which is a large food collection that we do to benefit the Chelmsford Food Pantry. This year, our social worker, Julia Gannon, took it upon herself to revive a 7th grade initiative that was being done by retired teacher Barbara Mayotte for so many years. So Julia is our social worker. She's in her 3rd year, and she just has great connections with so many of our families who need some support. And so she initiated this small food collection where over 30 families were able to come in and literally pick up a bag that she had created and included a gift card, and all they needed, and it gave them everything that they needed. No questions asked, to be able to have a nice Thanksgiving with their family. So I really appreciate that Julia took that on. And it's one of the things that we weren't able to do, again, through the pandemic, that we weren't able to really, be collecting things and helping out our families as much as we wanted to. So I just wanted to acknowledge Julia for taking that on. And then as far as in the classroom, we are, again, moving back into a lively, fun, energetic atmosphere. I felt like for even though a few years, having half the kids at home and you couldn't wait to see these ones and wondering how they're doing when they're not there, but we're really back up and running in a very positive way. The classrooms are busy, their group work is happening, the kids are working and learning with each other. Even though we're in year 4 of our one-to-one initiative, the balance between technology and not technology is really, the teachers are doing a very nice job. we heard from parents, from teachers, from folks about, we don't want them just looking at screens all day. And although they are used, they're integrated well throughout the course of the day and throughout the week. It's not something that just because everyone has a Chromebook that we're staring at them all the time. So that we're really moving in a positive way. As far as our staffing is concerned, we, like every other business and every other school and everyone else in the world, we struggled to be fully staffed in the beginning of the year. But thankfully, due to some patience, some time spent interviewing, and some great long and short-term staff members we've been able to hire, we're fully staffed in all of our classrooms, which is wonderful. We are still working to hire paraprofessionals, but as soon as they apply, we bring them in, and we hope for the best. And some of them have been able to come on board, and some it hasn't worked out, but that's something that us and every other school will continue to do. I also chose to include just a little snapshot of our special education program here. Part of our strategic plan is talking about equity and academic equity for all students. And one of the things that we've been able to do is we started a language-based program in the district. So it started in 5th grade, and we expect that it will continue to grow with the kids. We have 4 new staff members who have joined us this year that we were able to hire, and I couldn't be more excited about them. Just they're smart, they're energetic, they're super positive. They've really just been a great addition to our team overall, and we're really looking forward to continuing to work with those folks. We actually have another teacher, Sarah Cranny, who we hired last year, so I don't want to overlook Sarah as being one of the new ones too. But so really our special ed team is really gelling nicely and working well together, and I wanted to highlight those folks. And then, of course, we have our partnership with the New England Center for Children, our NEC classroom. They're in there, I think it's probably 8th year at this point, but they're just wonderful to work with. All of the students are just such an important part of our school environment, who are part of our partner program. And if next time you come over to Parker, if you're ever over at Parker, if you haven't stopped in or you haven't really kind of explored that program yet, let me know, and I'd love to introduce you to the folks, and you can meet some of the kids and interact and see what that program is all about. And I know they have a duplicate program up at the high school too for the kids that, as they move on, but it's something I encourage you to really kind of get to learn a little bit more about. It's pretty cool. 2 more things. As far as grading, we're in our 2nd year of how we evolved our grading for students and how we're assessing them. It has created parity between both schools in having students being assessed on common categories that were created by the teachers and by the coordinators and working together. We also made a change this year to our honor roll, and it's focused more on, or strictly on, academic honor roll. And so in the past, there was a bit of a formula of how the honor roll was determined for students, where classes, depending on how many days a week they met, and there was an overall average. But now what we do is we look at each class, and students have to have an 80 or above average to be considered for honor roll, or 90 or above in everything in order to be considered for the high honor roll. And that's something we thought was important to kind of streamline that and make sure that the honor roll was based strictly on academics and students being required to and having to achieve well in all of their classes in order to receive that designation. And then parent conferences. This was something new to the district this year, or to the middle school level this year. And there was some nervousness and some what if and how is this going to work. November 17th was round 1. It went well. Round 2 is tomorrow. The questions and the nerves and all of those things are really, have settled across the board. In talking to teachers from other districts, a lot of them say, well, what do you mean you haven't had middle school conferences? And the other ones are like, oh, we don't have that yet either. So I think we're kind of right in the middle of it. But I am very happy about it. I think it's a positive addition to the teacher contract, and I think it's a good thing. So we can start to shed the reputation of when kids go to middle school, we can't talk to teachers anymore, because we know that that's real. And the older they get, working in the high school, it kind of seems to move in that direction, as you guys would know. So with that, what we're going to do is transition into, I know that's enough out of me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna transition into student leadership, and I'm gonna turn over to Maya in just a second. So one of the things that I am a big believer in and a strong proponent of is student voice in the school. I think the kids deserve and should have a seat at the table when we're talking about programs and other things to make, essentially their school run. And my advice, or, to any of my principal colleagues who are watching, if you don't have kids actively involved in your decision making, you're really missing a golden opportunity. So with that, I'll turn it over to Maya, who's gonna talk a little bit about some of the opportunities at Parker.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I will be talking about the student leadership opportunities. We have two groups, the Student Pride Reps and the Student Ambassadors. The Student Pride Reps are a total of 25 students from grades 7 and 8 who are nominated by teachers and staff throughout the school. The students receive leadership training and work to organize and implement events for the Parker community. This is a list of all 25 students from 7th and 8th grade, including me and Dom. The Parker Pride Reps had the opportunity to go to the NELM Student Leadership Conference at Southern New Hampshire University on November 17th, with over 200 middle school students from all over New England. We were challenged to create a positive and lasting change in our school and community. The conference focused on things like mindset, relationships, belongings, teamwork, and goal settings.
And they're at the conference.
Yeah, that's a shot of them at the conference, and the kids were working with students from all over, and so we had our kind of a comfort zone, right, of the students that we brought. And then sure enough, a few hours into it, it was like, you and you over there, you and you over there, so it was actually pretty neat.
This is our other group, the Student Ambassadors, who are a total of 32 student leaders with one leader for each homeroom. Students campaign and give speeches for their peers to vote for them. They have to receive a recommendation from a staff member so they can run for this position. They work on a variety of monthly service projects, including this December, where they will be running a blanket collection for cancer patients to provide comfort during their treatments. This is a list of all 32 student leaders from each grade.
Thanks, Maya.
Thank you.
When the three of us were talking a little bit earlier today, kind of preparing for tonight, I had joked that when we started to invite students into this Pride committee, Maya was 1 year old. And then here we are, 12 years later at 13, but now she's presenting on this committee that was up and running for a long time. It's pretty cool, right?
That is.
Cool. All right. So the massive middle school transition that's coming up, before we turn it over to Dom. In working with the staff, as expected, there is a lot of, some apprehension and a lot of what ifs, right? And through the different discussions that we're having, and the, forums that Jay has had, whether with parents, we had a joint staff meeting yesterday. We're doing a lot of work in order to prepare for this. There's transition committees that are made up of teachers and staff members from both schools. I do strongly believe that despite the nervousness and the unknown that people are experiencing, there is some genuine excitement. People are nervous about what is it actually gonna mean when they're putting, 20 years of teaching into a couple boxes and moving to a different school. That's a big deal, right, for some people. But I do think that teachers across the board are largely maintaining that they believe that this is a good thing for the kids, and that we will evolve with it, and we can turn it into a positive thing. So I thought it would be important to bring, we know that there's a few different groups who are, student groups who are really going to be impacted by this. Ultimately, all kids, because, especially the younger ones. But we know for, in 5th grade over at McCarthy, they're gonna go to Parker for 6th and then go back. There's a few different groups that are going to be impacted, and one of them we talk about is our 7th graders at Parker, who are going to be going over to McCarthy. So I thought, what better way to address it than to bring a real live 7th grader to this meeting tonight to be able to talk a little bit about what we're doing in order to prepare for the transition, okay? Dom?
Hi, I'm Dom. I'm going to be talking about the transition from Parker to McCarthy. Last week, we sent a survey to all 6th and 7th grade students. We had about 200 responses. That's approximately half of the 7th and 8th grade. One of the questions was, did you know that the middle schools will be changing next year? We only had 4 students report that they didn't know that the schools were changing. That's a pretty weird statistic, but if it's 4 out of about 210, that's pretty good. The next question was, when you think about changing schools, what makes you nervous? A lot of the responses were that McCarthy would have a lot of new teachers that they don't know, and it would kind of feel like 5th grade again with the new school. I might be in a class full of people I don't know, and also I would get used to the new school layout. Question number 3, when you think about changing schools, what makes you excited? Most of the students were very excited about seeing their friends and ending the Parker versus McCarthy debate. And question 4, the questions or suggestions. My question is, the 7th and 8th grade teachers from McCarthy or Parker will migrate. And that's a question we're still deciding. The teachers still have their say in that, but we don't really know who's going and who's gonna stay. And the last question was a very big question. Lots of students asked it. A very popular question, sorry. Well, when will we get a tour to the school, and will Aussie visit us too?
Thank you, Don, good job. So overall, there were some, in full disclosure, right, out of 220, as of today, we had 220 responses. There were some students that are, why is this happening? Please make it stop, all right? But I will say those were very few. The themes that came out of it were, what Dom had shared. Largely, the students were nervous about getting lost because to them, McCarthy is absolutely massive and they're not sure how they're gonna find their way around, understandably. They're excited about a new facility, even though they're a little bit nervous about it, but a new facility and getting to meet new friends and be with the friends that they remember from elementary. So that was definitely a theme that came through. And then as far as suggestions was, like Dom said, we need a tour, right? So those are the things that they're kind of looking forward to and want to have happen. In addition to, some of the other ones where we just went in and kind of pulled out some of the different quotes that were, kind of came up that really kind of stood out. So we thought that that was a good opportunity to get some feedback from the students as we, wonder how they're feeling. And obviously we talk to them all the time, but we put out a survey and the feedback was pretty good. And we thought we'd really share a little bit of that tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we make comments?
Yes, yes, does anybody have any questions, or Jeff, Jeff?
Yeah,
John?
first of all, great job on the surveys and everything and coming in and presenting, because it's hard. I get it. With time, you get good at it. Maybe you'll be on a school committee someday and you get to do it all the time. But no, I just wanted to say Parker's a great school. I did go to the pumpkin thing. I've gone to a bunch of events. I'm just required to go to the other events, except for the one I have to drive down the driveway and wave at you. That one I don't do.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, no. So, but I know Parker's a great school. Ella has a great time there. We had the open house a while back, and it was really fun to meet all the teachers. And then, it's just a great school, and I'm glad that my family's part of it for sure.
Thank you.
I really appreciated that you shared with us your own personal thoughts about this. I think I've been hoping that students will see, that you will see, that in the long term, it's going to be great, I think, for us as a district and for everybody that's coming along. And you're setting the standard that everybody else is going to follow. So you guys are it. And so I appreciate a lot that you are giving it your all and truly sharing that so that everybody else gets a great experience too. The ambassadors program, the prides, wonderful, just absolutely wonderful to see the leadership. And again, you're setting a standard for others and leading them. So terrific, terrific work. I loved the pumpkin, and Donna was a great judge.
A lot of pressure.
She was an absolutely great judge. I had actually never seen that court, and I thought it was a beautiful area.
Isn't it awesome?
It looked really, really awesome. And I don't know. I know McCarthy as a building better than Parker, and I actually can get lost better at Parker than at McCarthy. So I think folks are going to be just fine.
Yeah.
After 2 days, they'll know everything.
Right, I agree. It is, Parker's very deceiving from the outside because it's built into the side of the hill, and if everything was above ground, maybe they would be less nervous because you can't see it all from the front. It looks just like the elementaries do, but the
Yeah.
courtyard is without a doubt, a super feature that we're.
Really
that we're lucky to
super.
have. Yeah.
Really super. Thank you.
Anything? Anything? Jeff?
Nicely done. Yes, very well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have a quick question around student leadership. So I noticed that it's very community service heavy. I was wondering if you could do me a favor and reach out to the Board of Selectmen. Because one of the things that they're interested in is doing is trying to figure out how to get younger people involved in the town.
Yep.
Okay? That's been a big goal of theirs. They were just talking about it last night. I know that we offer a civics opportunity at the high school, but, maybe something at the middle school might be something to think about as well. And then my question for you is, what are your next steps in terms of, the student voice in this transition? What will you be doing next?
I think a big part of the transition is helping students like find their way in McCarthy and making sure students are like very comfortable with it. So I think our next step is making sure all students are very comfortable with it and they're like all good with it.
Do you have any plans, specific plans?
Not at the moment. I think we're still figuring things out. I'm not really sure at the moment, though.
So one thing you might want to do is meet with Dr. Lang, maybe to sit down and just have a conversation around, some of the student concerns and ideas that we can help support, moving forward, whether it be the tours as you recommended or anything else. But I think it would be important to have you very actively involved in this, all of the students, so that way, people feel like they're getting the support that they need and the information that they need in a way that is most comfortable for them. Okay, so for example, maybe we have to use some of our social media stuff as opposed to, Facebook like old people like me would use or something like that. So, something along those lines, just to keep students informed about what's going on.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, and I think as we move through, like, we're focusing on the dance right now, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
Right? But then after the holidays, we will be, working as a group to talk about, and, obviously in conjunction with the folks at McCarthy, but what will that look like? So we're talking about a lot of kids, right? And to bring over, our sixth grade at some point to be able to tour. And I'm thinking of some of the structure could be similar to what we do when our fourth graders come up, is we pair up a fourth grade classroom with one of our fifth grade classrooms, and they'll work with the kids, they'll walk around with the group, the two teachers can connect, so, some things like that, but we'll definitely be getting ideas from the field, so to speak. We'll get it right from the kids and figure out what we want to do to make everyone as comfortable as we can, as Dom said.
Right, and if there's anything we can do to support both of your efforts, going forward, please don't hesitate to let us know.
We will, thank you.
Thank you.
But the fact that you're doing it is very important because you're doing it for your peers. And to me, that counts for everything. So thank you. Much appreciated.
Great, thank you.
Well, thank you again very much for coming tonight. It's
Thanks,
very
man, it's good to
informative.
see you.
It's good to see you and the kids back in person.
Yes, likewise, I appreciate it, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, continuing on with the regular agenda. The second item is just a reminder for you that next Monday night, December 12th, here in this room at 6 o'clock, we're going to have our tri-board meeting. So that's a meeting between the school committee, the select board, and then the town's finance committee. So that's next Monday night. It will be televised here. We're going to do a little review of the current fiscal '23 budget and how that is shaping up, but really more with an eye on fiscal '24, because we're going to be starting our budgeting process right after the holidays. So that's our annual meeting we get together. Again, just a reminder that that is next Monday night at 6 o'clock.
Jeff, one of yours, you've already had two capital budget
We
meetings.
have next one this coming Thursday. And
So
maybe,
would the final recommendations be in the tri-board meeting?
no.
Okay,
We're turning in our recommendations tomorrow night by 6.
okay,
And then we'll meet Thursday to discuss.
Okay.
So if there's a majority on any one project, that's automatically accepted. If there's any kind of disagreement, then there's a discussion, and it may mean another meeting, but we usually get it done in 3.
All right, so we'll just have to
So
put
the-
that on forward,
Yeah,
right?
so the process is, like after Thursday night, once the board deliberates again, if there's an agreed upon capital list, that actually then goes forward to the spring town meeting.
Okay.
So that would go forward to them for budgeting, but I usually come back the second meeting in December and tell you what the board voted. So
All right.
assuming they vote Thursday night, I'll put the list on for
Right.
the following meeting, is it the 20th? Our second meeting of the month, so that you can get an update then.
All right, I didn't know if there was anything you needed from us at the tri-board meeting with regards to that, but it sounds
Oh,
like,
hopefully we'll be done Thursday evening.
I'm hopeful
Yeah, I
that
think
Thursday night we'll be able to do that. And then maybe a little report out just about what the dollar amount is, but it's really not until springtime meeting that gets acted upon. Okay? So we'll see everyone here Monday night at 6. Third item on the agenda this evening is just as we're starting to put together our budget calendar for next year. This is just the proposed budget calendar for our deliberations. It follows suit with what we have done the last number of years, and it's predicated on the town manager, typically the last meeting in January for the select board, puts out his recommended budget to the town. And then our meeting usually falls a week later, and that's when we would produce our recommended budget for the school committee to consider. We then, it kind of works out well because in February, we always bump our second meeting to after February break. So that gives you an extra week to review the budgets. And then we come back on February 28th, and that's when we would actually post and have a budget hearing. And then if we don't, gotta have your keys. If we don't finish up on the 28th, we would just roll into the 7th, or if we ever had weather. But this is a pretty typical calendar that we've used in the past, so we're recommending that we adopt that for this year's budget cycle as well. Is that okay with the board?
should I just take a vote?
It's totally up to you. I don't think it's controversial. It's
I don't
more
think
of
it's
like
a
just
vote, yeah.
an acknowledgement.
Anybody have any problems with that?
No.
Not perfect?
No.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question though, Donna?
Yes.
Part of this now, of this proposed budget that we're gonna get in February, will include whatever's gonna happen in terms of the middle schools.
Yes,
Is there a special part of the budget on that, or what do we do?
I'm not quite sure yet. So that is something that we're still going to be working over the next couple of months on. We started, actually, this week is when we start to hold all of our different school-level meetings to put together like our staff reconciliation. We start to build our budget document. And I'm hoping by the time we get to February, we're going to have a clearer picture on what may be needed at the 2 middle schools. It is possible that that might not be refined until closer to April. So I don't know if I'm going to put like a little set aside or how I'm going to account for that in the budget, but I'll clearly document it for you. And when we produce it, I'll let you know, this is what is known. This is kind of a variable number that we're still refining because maybe we're not done our scheduling work or something like that. But I'll have a little set aside or I'll have a little note for you that lets you know how we're going to handle that.
Okay,
It'll definitely be taken into consideration. I'm not forgetting about that.
okay, thank you.
So we'll go forward with that as our budget calendar. And again, we can always have more meetings if we ever need to talk about it, but those two seem to typically work for us. Next item on the agenda this evening is just a single budget transfer, and I'll actually ask Joanna to walk you through that.
Thank you. There's one budget transfer for you to consider this evening. This is a budget transfer requesting $18,046 be transferred from the employee separation account into the general maintenance account to purchase new furnishings for the Harrington Elementary School Teachers Lounge.
And just as a way of reminder on this one, so we're actually kind of going through a process of doing some refreshes in the district with regard to some of our teacher spaces and prep spaces. So over the summer, actually kind of went into the fall a little bit. The first one was the high school. So the high school teachers lounge got all updated. And then we took a look at the other schools in the district and really kind of based on need and what they looked like at the time. We're going to tackle one at a time throughout the course of the year. So Harrington's was the one that was in most need at the elementary school level. So that was the first one we're tackling. So we work with a company that comes in and actually does like a refresh with new for the teachers' room, new furniture and materials, and Brian Curley will do like paint and things like that. But Harrington is up next, so that's why that transfer is in front of you.
I'm just gonna tell you that at the beginning of the year, the first meeting I went to at Harrington's PTO,
Yeah.
there was a list of items that they were looking for in terms of, used furniture or whatever they could get, because it was an empty room. So this was really necessary.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, and you'll see more, because we're gonna go through the district and go school by school, updating them. So there's certainly more to come on this, but we have limited capacity also to do some of these projects, so we're doing them one at a time. And we're doing them just based on really what we perceive as the greatest need as we roll through the district. But we're going through a process of doing them all. So, if you approve, I'd recommend your approval of the transfer.
All right, I'll take a motion.
I move that the school committee approve the FY 2023 local operating budget transfer for the Chelmsford Public Schools as presented.
Second.
All right, is there any further discussion or questions? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Dennis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Maria?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0.
Thank you very much. I'll actually ask Joanna to review the next report for you. We'd asked her to work with Dan Hart, our athletic director, to just put together a little report about the, how ticketing works now at the high school with regard to sporting events, because we'd made a change last year, and Joanna received some information from Dan and put this report together. So I would just ask her to walk you through that. I know a couple of members had asked for some clarity on it, so we're just bringing that forward this evening.
Thank you. And as the superintendent said, I'd like to thank Dan Hart for these details to help summarize how a spectator can purchase a ticket to one of our high school sporting events. So in November of 2021, we implemented a new electronic ticketing system called GoFan. And this was at the recommendation of MIAA. And it came about the spring before at the state tournaments, where those games, the MIAA had their spectators purchase electronic tickets. During the pandemic, primarily the driver was a contactless ticketing platform. So they kind of piloted the service. It went very well, and then they made the recommendation to athletic directors to consider it. And we did adopt it. And many other districts in the Merrimack Valley Conference also adopted it too. So there's a few ways a spectator can purchase a ticket. They can use GoFan, and they get communication via ConnectEd and other social media platforms on how to use this. There's also a QR code little sign at the venue gate where someone could scan their phone there and purchase the ticket. If they don't have that, they can also, there's a little point of sale machine at the gate that GoFan provided, and you can use your debit or credit card. And then as a last resort, there is cash at the gate. Exact change is appreciated. Just to give you an example, the Thanksgiving football game, we sold, it was over $15,000 worth of tickets, and the cash portion at that game was $440. So the collection of cash has gone way down, which has a lot of benefits from a, just cash handling perspective. And also it frees up the ticket takers to do other things rather than, count cash in the second half, and they can do other things with security. And then this is just a reminder that all these funds, gate receipts, go into the athletic revolving fund, which is used to help offset the cost of coaching stipends and other athletic equipment. The fees for GoFan is $1 per ticket for a regular season game. And we did not raise our ticket prices or anything. They've been $5. So now it's still $5. We keep $4, and the $1 fee goes to GoFan. So I'm going to pause at that, and then we're going to see if there's any questions. And then Dan helped create a little chart on what events we charge a ticket fee and what the cost is.
Does anybody have any questions?
I know there was some sort of issue with people not having their tickets or making printouts and not being accepted. Was that an issue?
From my understanding and talking with Dan about it, he felt that between, the online option, the QR code scanner at the gate, and then the point of sale with the debit or credit card, that was pretty successful. I'm sure it wasn't, 100%, but his feedback was that it's been a very positive move.
Because I know we saw something at some point, right?
Yes, yeah, I think we did. So, I guess, so I had to work at an MIAA tournament last year where they were using the code, they were using GoFan. And, I think the biggest problem is that, that it wasn't consistent across the state, right? So sometimes you could pay cash to get in, and then sometimes you couldn't. And in this particular case, because neither of the towns were from that location, people came and they weren't expecting GoFan completely, so they were a little lost as to what to do. And I guess what I'm wondering is like, how do we get the information out to people? So we have all of these options, right? And obviously we have the preferred, register ahead of time, buy your tickets ahead of time. But, so that, because sometimes we may have, alumni that are coming back that may not know that we use GoFan, or, relatives that may be visiting. We had a problem in the spring with, some people didn't have a smartphone of any type. They still had a flip phone, or they had no phone at all. So, I don't want to prohibit someone from coming in. So how do we get the information out, I guess, is the question. And to your point, to make sure that we're removing any obstacles, for people getting in.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see we did take cash. I didn't think we'd take cash at all. That was actually a surprise.
Yeah.
I think that does alleviate some of the problems. If somebody does show up like an alumni, hey, maybe I'll go to the
Yeah, it's
volleyball game.
It's my understanding that the cash was taken at the football game only, that's not a practice.
Okay.
That they want to continue.
Okay.
And I was at the football game, it was
crazy.
very
yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
it's number-wise. And you did have some people that came to the game as the game was getting started. The line was just too long to get in. As an exception, if people had exact change, they allowed cash and then did the deposit. But it's my understanding they are not doing and do not desire to do cash at events. That was a one-time.
Okay.
Now, we had a crowd like we've never had at a football game in a long time for the Thanksgiving game, but that is not normal. Most people would, come to a game too, and even if you had a flip phone or something like that, they do have the transaction machine right at the gate, and someone can help you buy the ticket, and usually the line isn't as long as the football game to get into like a regular event, and that honestly has worked well. So that is the priority, and it really does take, from the administrative standpoint, not having cash to have to worry about is pretty significant. So that just automatically goes into the account. You don't have to worry about the accounting of cash, which is a pretty significant thing for the school. So the cash thing was really just isolated to that Thanksgiving football game. Right. What were you saying about paper, though? I didn't know.
Yeah, people printed out tickets, and then when they brought them,
This is early in the year.
they weren't, and this is, there's still a lot of glitches in this, so for example, you've got your iPad, and, you're hoping it's going to work, right? Because sometimes it just doesn't. I don't, for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. And then you've got people who, don't have, a way to get in. So, how do we deal with these things? And also the paper, for whatever reason, it wasn't scanning.
Yeah.
Because you scan it. And like, even when you present your ticket on your phone, they push the button to say, we accept this
Well,
ticket.
it'd be like going to like Foxborough Stadium now. Like, most people would have their tickets on their phone, so you would just present your phone with the little
Right.
code reader, and it would be read. Yeah, you can print the piece of paper and bring that as well.
I think that's what people were doing, were printing it, but then when they got there, they said, we can't take the printed copies,
Right.
I remember the email.
Well, it might not be, I mean, if you don't have a good clean scan,
I don't know.
to be
Well-
able to scan, I mean, that could be
I don't know what the
problematic.
details.
I honestly have not heard, mass complaints about the,
It wasn't a mass complaint, it was just like
Ticketing
an email or email chain.
No, and as I said, the only thing that I can point to is having worked at this tournament, and it was rough. It really was. Because as I said, across the state, they're not consistent. You might go to, a town, somewhere out near Worcester, and they're still taking cash. So sometimes I think, it's that kind of thing. People don't know what to expect. So, my question is, how do we get the word out to people? And then I had one other question. So I noticed that the transaction fee is now built into the ticket. Do our auditors have any comment on, these electronic kinds of tickets now and transaction fees or anything like that? Is there anything that's come out? Because I think people have said that there's some legal implications to, having these types of electronic sales where there's a transaction fee of some sort, and we're not supposed to be able to do that. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
So are you talking about like a convenience fee?
That's it, yes.
So, the feedback we've gotten is, because we're not a financial institution, we can charge what we call a convenience fee if we don't want to absorb the cost of the fee of our online purchase.
Okay,
Like this first came about with Community Ed. They were kind of our first group to go online with paying for everything.
right,
So like if you do anything with Community Ed, you'll see your cost for going to the class, and then you'll see a convenience fee.
right.
And basically, that's the fee we get charged from the bank or the software company or whatever for processing that. And we don't really mark it up. We just want to remain whole. And we have to call it a convenience fee. We're not supposed to, let's say the convenience fee is $1. We're not supposed to charge $3 and make money on that transaction. I think that might be what you've heard about. So we're, we just try to be very transparent about what we are passing on to one of our customers, and some things we're not passing on. Like this one, we are not passing on. In effect, we reduced our price to $4, so someone doesn't have to pay, $6 for the ticket, and us $5 and passing on $1.
Okay. That's great. Thank you for doing that. So then, as I said, I think the only other thing is just making sure that the information is out there for people.
Advertising.
Yeah, even if it's on the, not just the athletics page, because I would imagine that there's going to be performances that we're going to start doing this for as well, right? They already do it.
They already do it
Yeah.
online.
For a couple of years.
They don't use GoFan, though.
They use a different system
Yeah.
because they have a software package that actually is integrated with like the seating plot of the
Yeah.
auditorium. So they are selling like tickets per seat. Then there's a whole different scheduling thing that works for that.
They've been doing that for a couple of years.
2 years, yeah.
Yep.
It's a few years. Yeah.
And you had, do you want Joanna to go on to the second part? Okay. And then we can do more questions.
Okay, so the second page is just a little list of the sports that charge a fee to attend and what the fee is. And then, so most of them are $5. Football's a little more, $7 for adults, $5 for students or senior citizens. And then Dan pointed out too that not every game, it has a fee. That's what the little select games means. It means not all, it means just some games. And so if there's multiple games in a week, parents don't have to pay to go to every game. It's just to try to be a little less burdensome, but then to still try to cover our costs with stipends for coaches and equipment. And any questions on that little chart?
Are the select games the ones that we're charging at? Is that on the athletic schedule so that people know ahead of time that they're going to have to pay to
That's a
go in?
good question. I'd have to, probably, is my guess, because Dan has to go in and set it up and GoFan,
Okay.
to buy a ticket, so my
My experience has been when they go in to actually schedule an event to have like a ticket be sold, you do have to go into GoFan because it produces like a specific QR code for that particular event, and then they broadcast that information out Again, like Facebook, a lot of the kids are using like Twitter and things like that
Okay.
at these points, but it goes out through those vehicles so that people can see them. They do pop up on my Facebook, I still do Facebook. They do pop up on my Facebook feed for like the different events that they're doing.
Okay.
Of course, the only thing that always concerns me about charging fees to our games and so on is making sure that, you know, if a grandparent or somebody, anybody wants to go see the game, that, you know, cost is not an issue. It's $5. It is not a prohibitive cost. But, you know, that's the only thing. And it goes into our revolving fund?
Yep.
Yes, it goes into the athletic revolving fund. And then when we're putting like our budgeting together, we use our revolving funds as offsets to support the local operating budget. So the fees that are generated from, say, the gate receipts would go to offset the cost of officials at games, any kind of costs associated with the contests themselves. If you have like event, I don't want to call them security, but like attendees or, what was it?
Event managers.
Event managers, things along those lines, like people running the clock at a basketball game or keeping the book at a game, things along those lines. So that's all built into the kind of the total cost of operating the program. And, you know, it'll be like a set aside or a certain reduction taken for anticipated revenue coming in from the gate.
Okay.
But we can definitely, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if anybody else had any other questions.
No, I was going to say, we can definitely make sure that we're pushing the, you know, the PR and the promotions around it, you know, to just try to make it as out there as possible, communication-wise.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. That was actually the last report that I had for the night.
All right. All right, moving on. Does anybody have any liaison reports?
Right.
Okay, you knew I went to one, right? I went to the PTO. I did attend their meeting. They just had their holiday store, which went extremely well. And they have an upcoming special person dance that they're putting together for the kids. I love the fact that it's called special person dance. But what I'm noticing and attending, you know, I also went to the McCarthy PTO meeting, and that had some other things come up. But what I'm noticing is that yeah, they're working hard, these PTOs, they really are. And it's not only to do events for, you know, the families, but also they're, you know, doing things for staff and so on. And it's much, much appreciated, everything that everybody does. And any parent, please involve yourself if you can. It just adds that much more to the experience for your child and for you in our district. Now, McCarthy, I also attended that meeting, and Kurt made his presentation to everyone. There were a couple of questions about the upcoming meeting that you held, and then I heard back that it was well attended, that meeting. And also that people appreciated the presentation, the way that it was done. You gave a lot of information, which was really good. And they are just already planning for the second half of the year and some of the things that they will do with the PTO of Parker and so on, which was great to hear. So as the students are doing things, so are the parents at the PTO level. That's it for me.
Dennis?
CHIPS met last week. I wasn't able to attend a meeting, but they did send me some of the minutes from the meeting. They wanted to mention they had a great turnout for their open house. They also had their basket raffle, which raised over $1,000. It's a big fundraiser for the year. They also wanted me to let you know that they were very appreciative of the fact that we're supporting the PTOs and providing for the staff appreciation luncheons and breakfasts and things like that. So they're very happy about that.
I'm glad.
I just saw today that CPAC is going to have a virtual meeting on Thursday. So it's the first I actually saw of it, but you can find it on the link on their Facebook page if you want to attend that.
Thank you for reminding me to say that, Dennis, because both of the PTO meetings I attended, they also were very appreciative of the input.
Yeah, I mean, just as an aside, that's gone over really well. I think the last couple of years, we started helping out during COVID just because for us, it was very difficult to manage and get out and support all all the different staff appreciation events. I know it's something the school committee wants to do, the administration wants to do, and the PTOs had. And at the same time, the PTOs were having a struggle doing fundraising during COVID, which again was understandable. So we had some resources financially, they had the bodies to be able to actually run the event, so I think it's really worked well the last couple of years. I always just kind of wait until we get through the first quarter and kind of see how things are looking financially, but we were able to do it again, so I did communicate that out to the PTOs in case I say something to you, but, yeah, we'll be coordinating and cooperating with them again to do that, so I think it's well received.
Definitely.
The high school PTO met last night, and again, they were very appreciative of the support, and they've already beginning their work to prepare for the after-prom breakfast, which will be Tuesday, May 30th. The Alumni Association is postponing their meeting for tomorrow night because tomorrow night at the high school will be eighth grade parent night from 6 to 8, just to attend at the PAC, and then it will begin from there. You know?
Well done.
Just a rehearsal the first time.
All right, anybody else? All right, does anybody have any new items that they would like to add to our upcoming agenda, or any action items?
Just wondering, oh, go ahead, you had something?
I was just, nothing, I want to add something to the agenda, but it kind of fell into the other, but we'll take it here. We did have a very good attended session.
I was going to make a question.
Oh, were you going to
I
mention
was
that?
going to ask you the question.
Oh, we did on the middle school realignment, we did a virtual session. A lot of it was to update, like even just kind of get people up to speed with what had happened. And when we looked through the list of people who had to register, because it was a webinar, there were a lot who hadn't participated last spring, so we kind of did the whole review to get people up to speed with where we're going. But we had over 500 register to attend the webinar, and then I think it was 303 actually attended, which is great to get 300 people to watch a meeting, listen to me for an hour. So, so that.
It was hard.
I know. At least you're at home,
Yeah.
and you could like reduce your screen if you had to. But we had, 303, and then after that, we opened up a Q&A type document.
Yeah.
And so far, we've had 11 questions come in, but it's not like an onslaught of questions. There's some common themes. A lot of it's just around transition, and how are we going to assure people do know the new spaces and get to meet staff and students, so that will be worked on over the course of the spring, but we did get very good feedback on that. So tomorrow is actually the first day that I'm doing the virtual office hours. So if parents had an individual question that they wanted to ask and talk about, I'm just going to be like online for 2 different hours during the day. They can just pop in, talk to me, and then pop out. They don't have to stay. But we'll see how that goes tomorrow. We've scheduled those for each month. So people can come spend a little bit of FaceTime with me if you'd like, John. I'll be online tomorrow. But no, good feedback on that, and we're going to keep that going and keep the communication flowing around this realignment.
How about the staff? There was a staff meeting about it today, too?
Yeah, so we have staff involved in these, what we're calling transition teams.
Yeah.
So they've met already. We have a meeting on the books for next Monday as well.
Okay.
That's a group that's going to really kind of get into the nitty-gritty around the logistics and how this is going to roll out. And then in addition to that, I just wanted to actually talk to the staffs directly. So yesterday, we had a joint staff meeting of McCarthy and Parker at the McCarthy Auditorium to talk a little bit, because again, apprehension around moves and things like that, to talk about the transfer process, how that's going to be rolled out. But it was a good meeting, so that went well. And right when we come back after the holidays, we're going to be working on the voluntary transfers and the realignment to staff, so that by February and March, we'll actually tell people, who's going where. And I think that'll ease some minds too. So it's all in the works. It's been very, very busy, but we're getting good feedback, and we're trying to be very communicative on what we're doing.
Okay.
Yes.
On the strategic plan, and tying that into the budget planning for this coming year,
Yes.
where are we in terms of timing? And, when we're going to know and what kind of money is needed in order to implement it this coming year, in the first year and so on?
We're actually in very good shape on that front. So we have our meeting on, I believe Thursday is our next session where we're meeting in some of the subgroups to refine the kind of the priority areas and whatnot. That really all should be wrapping up by early January. And then when we have the different initiatives identified and agreed upon, when I'm putting the budget together for February and March, we'll be able to incorporate that into the budget document.
Okay.
So that'll actually be even, not that it's easy, but timeline-wise, a little bit easier than even like the realignment piece, which may extend into the spring. But we'll be able to incorporate those into the recommendations.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
on that front too, just as kind of like kickstart money. We also have a little bit of ESSA money put aside for some of those initiatives to launch next year as well. So we'll be able to do that as part of the strategic planning process, even beyond the regular budget.
Okay.
Get that, the special ed review going on.
Yeah, well, this has been
Safety
a
audit
very,
going on.
very busy, busy
So
school
all
year.
that's
Yes,
gotta factor in.
Safety audit actually started this week as well. We having all of our physical building site visits and whatnot, so. Yeah, we've got the strategic plan work, the special ed opportunities review is a significant lift, that's ongoing. All the different facilities work we're doing, security, it's been a lot.
One more question if I can. For us to the future, for arts and theater and so on, is that part of our lineup on presentations as a district presentation this year?
It is.
Okay.
I just don't know off the top of my head, but the Fine and Performing Arts Group is coming to one of the meetings.
Okay.
I can look at the schedule and let you know which one, but they're on the docket.
That's important. I think especially with this middle school realignment, I've been getting some questions about how the theater program is going to work in both schools once we have the division there. So just to make sure.
Yep, no, they are on the schedule. I just don't know where, but I will look and let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? So I'm sure you would have told us if you had heard anything on our statement of interest, but have you heard anything about when we might hear something?
They just indicated likely before Christmas, but no, I've heard nothing either way.
Okay. So there was just a couple of things. Linda, I was wondering if you could just send us an email confirming the dates for our DEI training with ideas.
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Okay, I have the 10th, the 24th, and the 31st of January, but I just want,
And you had the 15th of February.
15th, okay.
You could be right. I have to just pull it up and I'll let you know. I'll send that out. I'll send you an invite too.
Thank you.
Okay.
The policy subcommittee, did you guys want to wait till after the first of the year, or you want to go next meeting?
Probably the first of the year, 'cause I talked to.
We're the holdup at
I
this
talked
point.
to-
This isn't
They're
Dennis.
still
and,
looking to get
others.
feedback from some of the department heads, so.
We're meeting internally tomorrow.
Okay.
To just kind of review that, and then we should be able to get back to you by the end of the week, early next week.
Alright.
So if not the 20th, certainly the first
Yeah.
meeting in January, we should be ready
Okay,
for.
that's what I figured.
Same thing with the handbook, you want to wait till January?
Yeah, we'll do them together.
Okay.
Do them together.
All right, so at the selectmen's meeting last night, I know that they're having, they're going to invite the state representatives in to hear a report that is being presented, but also to be able to just talk to them about, priorities and things like that. And I was wondering if we thought maybe we should do something similar, or talk to the Board of Selectmen and see if we wanted to do something jointly. I don't, does
When do
anybody
they
have
have
any
an amend, do you know?
thoughts? What's that?
When do they have an amend, do you have any idea?
I think it's their next meeting in December.
It'll probably be too tight to.
Yeah, I think it would be
do something
tight,
together.
and I think that my impression is that they have a lot to cover. So, but maybe, sometime after the first of the year, not right after the first of the year, but, maybe a little bit later, into the spring, we
Yeah,
could,
maybe after the budget stuff.
yeah, maybe after the budget stuff, we could, invite them, to a meeting if people thought that, or if people have any other ideas, if you wanted to not have them come to a meeting and to have a special forum where people could come and talk to them as well. But I'll put that on our agenda after the first year, and we can make some decisions about how it is that we want to have them come in, whether it be with us or
Yes.
something big.
That would be great.
All right. I was wondering, and this is going to sound like a bizarre request, but we had talked about esports at one point.
Yes.
And if we could get an update on that, maybe, about where that's
Yeah.
at?
Yeah,
Okay,
Bill actually just talked to me about that today.
okay.
Oh, do you know about it?
No, I
Oh.
haven't. I want my update on the open space that I've been waiting for several months.
Yes, I know.
I know you keep pointing at me and saying that every meeting.
It's on the list. You'll get it.
I know it's on the list.
But no, Bill actually just talked to me about the esports thing today because their seasons, the next one's coming up, and we're kind of ready to implement. So I will get you a report on that. Bill can come and talk to us about it as well.
Yeah.
And John, I promise you'll get your report.
Every week, every month. I trust you.
You want that after the first of the year or next meeting?
Well, let me just find out from him what the schedule is, because
Okay.
I don't know like when it's starting, but it might not be a bad thing PR wise. So let me just find out like when he would get information out.
Okay.
I will ask him.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention too, and this was from a meeting back in August. We had talked about doing a folder in the Dropbox for field trip forms. Do you guys remember that? I thought we had requested that we put them in there just for review. I don't know why I had that, but I think it's we wanted a folder in the Dropbox for field trips.
Separate from the ones that are in the packet?
Yeah, I guess so. That's what we asked for, so. But if people don't think it's a good idea, we can certainly take that right on.
Did we ask for this, Donna, or did you ask for it?
No, I'm pretty sure we talked about it. Well, you know what it was? The reason I went back and checked was because of the trip that we had to Seattle, where there was not
Yeah.
a determined number, the students hadn't been, number of students hadn't been determined, and then, they went.
Right.
So I think we just needed, we needed some follow-up, so I think that's why we may have put that there. But
Can we talk about it offline? And
100%.
just try to figure out like what you're looking for, and I'll see how I
Yes,
can.
I'm just,
possibly
putting that
accommodate
out there as a possible option if people are interested in having that, so. And I think that's everything I have. So, is there anybody else? All right, then with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0.
Thank you.